Welcome to Inspiring Possible. I'm Christy Pennison, former stuck person turned therapist and dream consultant. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, uncertain, or just need a little inspiration? Then I want to help you gain the clarity, confidence, and courage to create possibilities and live a life you love. Because folks, life's too short to be miserable. Hey, yo, my inspiring possible people. So excited to have you back today. And today is a special day because I have a guest that really I have been wanting to get her on the show for a while. Because not only do I know her personally, but I also know the incredible things that she's done to help other people move through a very challenging thing that we can all experience some stress around. And we're going to talk about what that is in a minute. I know you're curious, but hold on there. But she's also a licensed marriage and family therapist. But she has this other wealth of skills that she helps other people with. And that is around, have you guessed it yet? You probably haven't. Money. So some of you listening probably just cringed because you were like, oh my gosh, Christy is going to talk with somebody about money today. And yes, folks, we are, because I have a wealth and wellness coach with me today, Jacent Wamala. And she is like a YouTuber, a speaker, a podcaster, but mainly she helps a lot of people around this thing called money mindset, how this all plays into our everyday life, and how you can find ways to be able to make money your friend, not your enemy, and just to dive in. But I'm going to let her talk about all that. But welcome, Jacent, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. We've known each other for years, and so it's been cool to know that this was an idea for you at some point that you allowed yourself to run with and develop. And here we are now, finally, after trying to figure out when we could make this happen to record this episode. And I'm so excited for you. I'm excited for this chat and everyone listening.
Well, I'm excited for you too, because I can remember when, we used to joke, because me and Jacent met in a mastermind, I guess you would say, a coaching program where we were learning how to be great, because it was greatness coaching. And it was really cool. It actually gave us a lot of accountability. We got some really cool experiences with that. But it helped us kind of hold some intentions and help get some of our goals and our dreams off the ground. And we used to joke, Jacent had a magic piece of paper, and it really is magical, let's just be honest, that she would pass around to people. Would you mind sharing the story? Because I know this magic piece of paper is a lot of the origin of why you help people today. So tell me why money is something that you really find purpose in helping people figure this whole dynamic and relationship that they have with money.
I forgot about the magic paper. So essentially, right, like plenty of people, maybe if you're listening, you didn't grow up learning a lot about money, and neither did I. I'm first generation. My family immigrated here from Uganda, and so they didn't know much to share or impart, just like many families around the country. We got general stuff like you should save money, you shouldn't have too much debt, but like never a guide or principles and practices to actually build wealth. So by the time I got to college, right, fast forward, I didn't go into a lot of debt for my undergrad, but the mindset was like, I need to save my debt for grad school, which is also an interesting line of thinking. It's fine.
It's interesting, the things we pick up along the way, right? From
Yeah.
messages we receive.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, and I didn't have a lot of family members who had navigated higher education either. So lack of exposure and understanding of how, what options there are and how to go about things played a role. So
Yeah.
grad school was when I went into the majority of the debt that I had gotten into between student loans and credit cards. I ended up being at the time when I first calculated my net worth, it was about $70,000 or so. But while I was in grad school, 2014, I had gotten divorced from my high school sweetheart. And then just months later, my dad passed away. So all of this happened within the span of like 4 to 6 months. while I'm in grad school to become a marriage and family therapist, mind you, which was really ironic and led to some imposter syndrome, of course. But that was a time where I call it a grief storm. Life and money intersected. And because I lacked a foundation of financial literacy, when life happened, it took a greater toll on me financially because I didn't know how to manage money, how to prepare for when things happen, how to make decisions that would support me when I was struggling mentally, emotionally, physically, as opposed to like put me in a worse off situation. So between 2014 to 2017 was when I went into all the debt that I had accumulated. My cousin gave me a book for Christmas, and I calculated my net worth for the first time from one of the exercises in the book. And I had this notebook in my house. And I'm like, do I have it nearby? Because even though it's filled up, now all the magic paper is gone. I have used it
Oh,
and
I
given
know.
it away.
You did tell
But I
me, like,
still,
magic paper is no longer in existence.
oh, it's you were one of the last people to get a sheet of it. So
I feel
on
so
that
honored, Jacent, so honored.
on that sheet of paper, I had written down, just other things. But at the bottom, that day where I calculated my net worth, I put my net worth and then I put what I wanted on the other side of the net worth and how long I wanted it to happen in. And so lo and behold, January 2017 to about early May of 2020, that 3-year span of time is when I was able to figure out how to pay off nearly $100,000 in student loans and credit cards in 3 years before I turned 30, fulfilling what was on that piece of paper. And then from being a therapist to a wealth coach, kind of emerged out of this experience where I saw so many people in the therapy room mentioning money as a major stressor. But in school, we never talked about that.
Yeah.
So so I'm like, it was happening for me. It was happening for my clients. I'm like, what's going on here? I didn't really necessarily get specific tools on how to deal with this in particular, but it clearly seems important, especially for women, for everyone, but especially for women because we receive different messages around money than men do. So it's been really cool at this point to see, what's been possible, inspiring possible, right? From a
Yeah.
whisper in your heart to experimenting with what could happen. And if I can impart nothing else when we have this conversation today, it's just going with your gut and allowing whatever it is that you feel inspired to try out or go toward that you would give it a chance. So
Yeah, well,
that's
and I'll
the
be honest with you,
big
Jacent,
picture.
even when you tell me your story about again, and most people I'm sure listening, when you think about this, over $100,000 in debt, paid off in what, a little bit under 3 years or right around something like that. If you are listening and you're like me, you probably are thinking, "That is incredible." And I've heard you tell a story, but each time I'm like, get goosebumps of just like the fact that you were able to set an intention around it and then figure it out, okay? Where do you remember being your pain in that moment where you were just like, "I have to do something about this"? Like, what was it just writing it down on the paper? Was there a certain thing that you experienced that you're like, "I can't live like this anymore"?
I think it was a culmination of things. It was kinda coming out of the numbness of the grief storm, if I can say.
Mhm.
So, really, if you think about when you have a wound, where there's a time period where you don't feel anything, and then it's like the pain kicks in, it was kinda like
Yeah.
that as I was as the grief was wearing off, and I'm coming to, like, "Oh, this is life after these things have happened to me. And what is life gonna continue to look like if I keep going down this path?" So, for me, I felt like I was at a crossroads where I could keep going down the road I was on, which meant more of what I had already, easy to see. But the other path was, what if? What if I figure out how to get out of debt? What doors would that open up? Do I like how that feels? Is that what I want? And so it took some reflecting, and I liked that other outcome. And so I was like, well, let's see what we can do. And so I guess when I think about it looking back now is allowing myself to become my future self in that moment. And there's a book called Be Your Future Self Now, by Dr. Ben Hardy, and do an experiment. I think we get paralyzed by the process instead of
Mm.
playing in the process. And so, of course, I set this huge vision, like literally, y'all. I didn't make more than $17,800 in 2016
Thank you for
with
telling
a
that part of the
master's.
story.
With a master's degree. Okay. I
Mhm.
didn't make any money. So what I wanted to do was impossible on paper. But I didn't get wrapped up in that. There's a difference between eyesight and mindsight. Your eyesight is what's right in front of you, and your mindsight is the vision that you have, your ability to see past what's right in front of you to what you could dream of and envision. We have imaginations, so we can create things in our minds, and then we can create things in our minds that we actually call into our reality. So I think that was the difference, is like I could have dug my head in the sand. But instead of doing that, I said, let's play.
Yeah. Well, and just to repeat this for the listeners, just because I think this is a very important, it's inspiring, honestly. Just say again how much you were making a year. I mean,
I
seriously, and it's not to highlight that, but it's just say because I think there
No,
are
we
a lot of
have
people
to.
saying that may not be, you know, making what they think they could be making, right? And they say, well, if I made more, and I know that's part of the strategy too, but like, you know what I mean? That's a
Sure.
sometimes a mindset that we can limit ourselves.
So we're always looking for excuses why we can't. And when I did the calculation of net worth, it led me to like, okay, well, now I know how much I want to pay off in however much time, right? I wanted to try to be debt free in 3 years. I reverse engineered the numbers. It was about $2,000 a month. So I'm like, okay, I need to pay off $2,000 a month. That's in addition to my bills. What am I even making right now? Because I surely was not managing my money. So I didn't know. When I look back, when you look back at your taxes or whatever,
Yeah. Yes. I have done that before, and I'm like, how
woo!
in the heck did I survive? But anyways.
Yeah. So I I looked back at my taxes, and I should probably share this on Instagram or something in a YouTube video. I'll share a screenshot so people could actually see. $17,800 was what I made in 2016 with a master's degree. And I think a part of this, which is I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent and come back, was that I was in a field, which many of us happen to go into, where we are conditioned and we're told and we're given thoughts and beliefs about our profession and what's possible for us that lead to things like that. Because we go to school and we hear, oh, well, you shouldn't expect to make a lot of money doing that, or you didn't go into this field to make money. But like the degree costs money. It costs money to run a business or to what? Like, then all of it should have been
The
free.
time
I
it
should have
took to get the degree is money lost that you could have been spending somewhere. I mean, yes, yes. Mhm. I'm right here
so
with you, know,
I
because
it,
there is
it
a
was
lot
a
of messages around, especially the profession that me and you went into that,
yes.
I remember thinking like, this is something I'm doing for a heart purpose, not necessarily, but I still need to feed myself and my
Yes.
daughter and pay
Yes.
my
Yes.
bills and, yeah.
And somehow your heart and earning a lot of money can't go together. That's what that means. Like if it's a heart thing, then you should be giving it freely. Like there shouldn't be any return on that. No, like they can go together. You can do what you love and give from your heart and make a lot of money helping a lot of people. So I think I was a self-fulfilling prophecy in that way. And then
Yeah.
I had to work through some of those things to be able to shift. And in that process is how we eventually ended up meeting each other, as I invested in myself and in my business to learn how to continue to do this work on a greater scale. So it's been a fun ride and I'm so grateful. Like truthfully, this is kind of still just the beginning, even for you, for us, like we still have
Yes,
so
for
much
both of
time
us.
left.
It's crazy to think about. And it is crazy to think about when we think about, so me and Jacent, it was probably what, 3 or 4 years ago now? 4
I think
years.
4.
Yes. I can remember us being on that initial call, and I can remember the investment that we both made in that. And I remember thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe," to that point about how much was made in that year. This is like, I think at the time, like a quarter of what I would use to make in a year to invest towards, no, more than a quarter, like a third. I don't know. It was crazy to invest in this program to like work towards these goals that we had. But I want to bring it back to what you said your first step was, is getting a clear vision of where you wanted to be. And I think one of the things I heard you say was that you also realized what was the cost of staying the same. Like if I
Mm,
didn't learn new habits or new skills, or I didn't confront some of these old mindsets that were given to me or that good intended people because they didn't have any other skills that were able to teach me a different way. Um, or even pervasive in like the college level that we went to, that pervasive thought process of what this path should look like. And you could have went through all those excuses and said, this is what I'm doing, this is impossible. What was the thing that helped you move past those excuses into action?
So I used to feel like a unicorn because I did have the privilege of being a therapist, so understanding psychology. I taught personal growth and development at UNLV here in Las Vegas for
Okay, I didn't know
5
that.
years. So I know like the scientific pieces and parts of, you know, creating a goal and executing it, purpose, personal development, all those things. And so I do benefit from the privilege of understanding that side of things. But beyond that, I've always, since I was a kid, been a curious person, been a person who, and this might be a personality type thing, who, when faced with odds, with certain odds, I'm like, well, let's see if we can beat them, you know? So I do think there's a little bit of a personality in me that makes
Yeah.
me that way, combined with like reading and learning and things like that. But I would argue that all of us have a little bit of that in us. All of us feel like we want to prove ourselves to ourselves or to someone else, that we want to live a certain way. And so that's why I say, just like whatever that thing is in you, stoke the fire, let it burn, see where it leads, because you'll be amazed at where it'll take you. And so I think, as young people, we get a lot of our courage beaten out of us to do things that are risky, but make it a calculated risk. Like the only reason I was able to invest in greatness coaching was because I paid off all of my debt. And then after I paid off all of my debt, 6 months after I became debt free, I had saved $30,000. Never in my life had I even ever seen like $1,000 before,
Mhm.
like in one place, like in a bank account. And so
Yeah.
like it very quickly snowballed after I had paid off my debt that I had 5 figures sitting around to be able to invest in a program. And so, if nothing else, I think it's really being able to slow down to make choices today that prepare your future self for success. How can present Jacent support future Jacent? And that might mean putting my gym clothes out the night before. That might mean charging my Apple Watch so that I can put it on for the next day to track my steps. That meant for me taking the time to learn about financial literacy and financial wellness overall, so that, boy, I became debt free during the pandemic. Like,
Yeah.
I had a really good 2020. And like, I have to be okay with saying that because it was not a good time for a lot of people. I had a great year. I had a great time. And I really attribute it to having made choices beforehand that prepared me for when the ish inevitably hit the fan. I did my first challenge in February of 2020. I had like a handful of women, 10 people sign up. Actually, maybe one guy. So maybe it was 9 women. And one of the women that had signed up saved $1,000 in the 30-day period and was laid off in March. And $1,000 isn't a lot of money, quote unquote, but it's gonna keep the wolf away from the door when you
And it's better
unexpectedly.
than 0 or
Okay.
under 0.
So
Okay.
she made choices in the moment that prepared her for when life happened the following month. That's like, if you could have the emotional and the intellectual maturity to make choices from that place, you're
Yeah.
gonna change your whole life.
Well, and I'm loving that you said this because just saying you don't know this, but I was having a conversation with a coach that I've been working with recently earlier today, and she had just said this to me. She said, everybody invests differently. And this is not necessarily about money. This is about your time, what you're learning, what you're doing. And there is a compound effect, positively, negatively, of where you're investing your time, energy, efforts, skills, thought process, things like that. And she was trying to remind me that we all have choices, right? And we've all made choices that maybe weren't the best, at least for me. Okay. And then there's made some choices I can reflect back and been like, man, I'm so glad I did that hard. It really sucked in the moment. It was not, I didn't get to do some of the things that I wanted to do. I missed out on things that I wish I could have been at, but I made choices for that future self that you're talking about. And that journey has been wild. Like, is that, when I think about that. But it's kinda, I guess, what I'm hearing you say is that, like, we all invest. It is just taking account of where have I been looking at where are these choices being made? What choices have I made that I don't like how they made me feel? And then what choices do I need to make differently to get me to that future version of myself?
Yeah, and I think there is a difference between spending and investing because spending, consumption is something that doesn't give you a return, but an investment gives you a return. So some of us are
Mm.
spending, we're consuming, but it's not giving us anything significant back. Wealthy people limit their spending and maximize their investing. The folks of us who are on our way, pre-rich, we'll say, pre-rich people,
Hey, we'll claim that today. We have it on a
no, we're
recording,
wealthy
Jacent. We
because
have it
we're
on a
making
recording.
choices. We're making
That's right,
choices,
we
but
are.
we're using a wealthy mindset. But when we were pre-rich, we would spend for and in the moment, not understanding that it's just consumption. Like, it's in and it's out. And so even with, like, the food I choose to eat or whatever, like, my food is an investment because it is going to give me a return that as I age, it is going to benefit me and keep me healthy as opposed to eating X, Y, and Z that my body doesn't like or isn't good for me. So when we make that shift, again, being your future self, whoever that person is, you have to get to know that version of you intimately and then decide to make choices on a daily basis that align with the vision you say you want. I'm not trying to tell you what your vision is. Christy's not trying to tell you what your vision is. You say you want to be wealthy and take care of your family, give back to your community. You say that you want to be able to be in the best shape of your life, to be able to move and have ease in your ability to do things and play with your kids and your grandkids. Like, you say you want to have time freedom and flexibility, but like, there is going to be a cost. And I was just thinking this morning about my own business and listening to Neville Goddard, The Power of Awareness. And he was talking about attention. And I was like, ooh, this area of my life isn't growing the way that I want it to because I'm not paying attention. There's a cost. I have to pay. Right now, a lot of us are paying our attention to stuff that's not giving us anything back. I'm not against enjoyment and entertainment, but is it in alignment with what you say you want? And so I'm like, dang, I need to pay. I need to give my attention to the things that I want to see grow. And that's why I did so well when I paid off my debt because it got like nearly all my attention. I I
Yeah.
I I wrote nearly every single day. I do have this. I don't have my other sheet nearby, but I do have this little box that I had when I was on my journey, and
Oh,
there's these
okay.
little pieces of
Oh,
paper. There's a
I
little worm
have
on
that
it.
too above my desk, Jacent.
You
It's
do?
not that one,
Stop.
but it's similar, yeah.
So, I would write every single day. It's called scripting, the things that I wanted to have happen in my life. Both sides, y'all.
I love that.
Every day, nearly every single day, I was Delulu. I was writing down, I'm a world class speaker. I'm a well celebrated author. I'm happily married. I'm debt free. I wrote nearly every single day.
But she is an author, guys. I don't know if I said that in here. We're gonna talk about that book in a minute, but so that did come true. Okay.
So you got to be a little Delulu, maybe.
I like it though. But I mean, I think that honestly, when you're delulu about what your future self is, it's more likely you're gonna actually arrive at that than not putting it out there,
I mean,
right?
we're Delulu anyway. We're Delulu if we think we're
Yeah.
gonna get to where we wanna go and we're not doing anything that's helping us to get there, right? Like, you're gonna be Delulu either way, at least be Delulu in the direction of your dreams.
Oh, we need to write that down. I think that needs to be a tagline. At least be delulu in the direction of your dreams. I'm writing that down right now so I can remember it later. Well, let me ask you this, Jacinta, because I'm just curious, because I do hear what you're saying. And I think I'm going to go back to that spending versus kind of, the consuming versus the investing? Because I think this is a shift that
Yeah.
we're not always aware of. What would you say to those listening that are like, just then actually after you're saying that, I really do think that I spend, I'm consuming. I really don't think about how is this going to be a return tomorrow, next year, 5 years from now. What are the steps that you kind of sometimes maybe bring people through just to help them start switching that mindset?
Yeah, mindset wise, right? With that in particular, I just think you could ask yourself simple questions. So, what am I getting back from this? Like, what is it giving to me? So that would literally is if I decide to go to the gym, what am I getting back from that? If I decide to scroll right now, if I'm going to get on my phone, and some of it is habitual. So if I get on my phone and I'm scrolling and I don't realize until I've already been doing it, like, what am I getting back from it? Now, I can spin anything. It probably comes from being a therapist. Okay. Reframe
I
all day
think so
long.
too. I'm
I,
doing research.
uh,
That's what I'm doing
hello.
right now.
But here's the thing. It doesn't matter whether that's true or not. Our mind is open to suggestion. So if I say I'm doing it for research, then it benefits me in that way. But if I see it or classify it as, mindless, then that's what I receive. Like our mind is literally open to whatever we suggest to it. So I suggest what I want to my mind. In that, if I'm going up the stairs, I tell my brain this is exercise. If I'm moving my body, I tell it there's been research on it that they told, I think it was women in hospitality, like housekeepers, that they told a certain group that, that that's just what their job is. They told the other group that the work that they do when they're housekeeping counts as exercise and benefits their health. When they looked, they saw that the women who were told, given a suggestion, nothing changed, it was same job, that this benefits their health and that it's exercise, it did. So knowing that, right, again, understanding like the science and stuff behind it, I use the science for my benefit. And so I asked myself, what am I receiving from this? And sometimes when it's future self stuff, it's tough because like I'm eating this cookie. What am I getting from this cookie? Like right now I'm choosing to have this cookie and in its enjoyment. And I'm going to have this one and I'm not going to have 10 like maybe I used to. And in the future, I'm going to make a different choice probably. But today, this is the choice that I'm making, guilt-free, shame-free, because that doesn't add anything to me. But I think to bring it back, the quickest and easiest thing you could do is ask yourself the question, what is this giving back to me? What am I gaining from this thing? And if you could spin it like we can spin it, live your best life. But if you know it's not aligned with your vision for yourself, then you just have a choice and that's it. It's not about making yourself feel bad. It's not about like going down the rabbit hole. Just know that that's the choice you're making and that thankfully you get plenty more opportunities to make whatever choices you like.
Yay. That's what I like about life. You know what I mean? You can always choose
Oh, yeah.
differently. You can always choose. You can end up making the same choices for like a few decades, and you can wake up and say, "Huh, I have a different vision of how I want to live my life," and we'll choose that. Okay, but I'm going to bring back to something you said earlier about the attention, and there is a cost to what we're paying attention to. How much attention did you have to give to your money to be able to do the incredible thing you did, which was, and I know you help other people do this all the time. What's the level of attention you have to start giving to money if you want to change? Maybe it be get out of debt. Maybe it's have that savings that then will allow you to jump on opportunities
Yeah.
that you want to take.
I'm going to ask this. If you are starting a new relationship with somebody that you want it to work out with, business, romantic, platonic, how much energy does that relationship require to flourish? And that's how much energy that I would suggest devoting to whatever your vision is. The nice thing I think about when students work with me is that I'm not prescribing them my plan. We're creating their plan. So the amount of energy that I put in my journey was intense focus. I was like, we're going to make this work. So it was quite an intense focus. Like I changed my whole life for it. But, like, if you wanna get married to someone that's amazing, would you know what I mean? Would you
Yeah, I love that, Jacent. I mean, because everybody's path is different, and what I'm hearing you say is, like, it is helping somebody figure out where their vision is and what is gonna work for them to help them get there, and how much time, energy, and effort are they willing to spend to get to that vision. And I think that's you also said something I think that's very important for listeners to hear, is that when you went on your journey to make this happen, you knew this is where I wanna go. And because of that, you did, it sounds like, shift a few things in your life. Probably had some things that you didn't get to enjoy or had to sacrifice. Probably, I'm just assuming this, you tell me if it's wrong, but probably had to, also spend some intentional time, probably daily, if not definitely weekly, looking at things, paying attention, making sure the dollars were going where it needs to go, and what spending was happening, and how to and have that investment mindset. But every path is different, and it sounds like it really depends on. And I love how you use the relationship analogy too, because I'm thinking about relationships and things like that, right? How much energy does it take to make it successful? And the truth is, folks, if y'all think about it, if you're in a relationship, I mean, you didn't just show up on date 1 and then everything just worked out and that was it, right? You had to spend time, energy,
You put
conversation,
deodorant on, okay, we're wearing
make yourself
clothes we
look.
don't typically wear, we're putting pants on instead of yoga pants. Like, we're doing some things to get this thing to work.
That's
And
right.
so, one of the biggest mistakes I think we make, and I used to make this, it's literally in my book, until it clicked for me, this idea that we need to take control of our finances. It sounds harmless, but as a
Okay, let's talk
therapist,
about this. Yes.
I know I've been in relationships where power and control played a role. I'm not in that kind of relationship now, nor will I ever be in that kind of relationship again. Does money want to be with you if all you're trying to do is control it? So, if I'm not supposed to control my finances, what's a better way? What shifted for me was, instead of taking control of my finances, I need to take care of my finances. Because if we're thinking about it like a relationship, is this is probably therapy stuff too, right? Like externalizing and like personifying the money. Does money want to be with someone who takes care of it? Probably. So it's not micromanaging and holding too tight, having an anxious attachment style. A lot of therapy stuff is coming in here. Y'all gonna have to look up these words later.
I love it though. You do
And
so good about this, Jacinth. Every time you talk about, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, so if you're not a therapist, hey, you're getting like some therapy insights for the cost of
free.
listening right now. Okay.
So you don't want to have an anxious attachment style to money where we hoard and we hold on to and we're so scared that it's going to leave us that we don't do anything with it. Because I talk to women that are like that. They've got so much money just sitting around. They're so scared they don't know what to do. And we also don't want to have a dismissive attachment style where we ignore, neglect, avoid our finances, which I talk to plenty of women who are like that don't know their numbers or what's going on with their money.
Like, I
Because
just want to live in ignorance because it's too overwhelming for me to peel back the curtain to see what's over there.
exactly. And so it's really, how do we create a securely attached relationship with money so that it wants to be with us and we are okay with being with it. And money has to be able to flow, come in and go away. You don't want to trap it in the house, trap it in your bank account and be scared that, oh, you save money, but then you're so scared about spending it. You save the money to spend it. It's going to get spent on something, right? So money, because again, it's like you're locking the money up in jail, but you want it to do these things for you. You want it to make you financially free. You want it to give you flexibility of your time. You want it to make you autonomous and not have to, do what other people tell you to do. You want it to take care of generations of your family, not just your family, but generations of your family. You want it to be able to help your community, your church, a nonprofit, help some ASPCA dogs or something like that. Like you're asking a lot of the money, but what are you doing for it? Like how are you reciprocating in this relationship? And all the money wants is for you to take care of it. And it will do all of those things for you.
Man, that's good. Just said. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about this, like, because I mean, me and you've even talked. I feel like I'm in this phase of like trying to figure out what my relationship looks like, with money. And it is a relationship. And if you ignore that relationship is not going to do much for you. In fact, it's going to leave you heartbroken, probably not feeling the best. But if you're nurturing that, then it's a little bit easier to say, hey, in this way my money's not working for me, or in this way I would like you to show up a little bit more in abundance, or hey money, I would like you to help me get rid of these unwelcome visitors called debt, because I don't want them in my house no more, right? So I love this analogy of, also, you don't want it to be like in jail where you're hiding money on the floorboards, and one day you hope it just you know magnifies or multiplies itself. I always wish that I could find somebody's house where they were just hoarding some money under the floorboard. You know what I mean? Like,
Let's
think
dig
they're
some
like, "Should I
holes in
go
the
out,
backyard
get an investment property and see if there's any money hiding in the ceiling?" 'Cause
at the
there
lake
might be.
house. There's probably money.
Oh, that's where you're gonna be yours at? It's gonna be at the lake house? Hiding in
No,
it?
I'm saying you at the lake house. When you find a lake house, that's where it's going to be at. It's going to be buried in the
That's
backyard.
right, that's right. I have a really funny story about that, just but I'll tell you about that later. But yeah, I mean, wherever it is in the future that you wanna go, I mean, what's crazy, just and I think about my journey and the reason why this podcast exists as a whole. Um, there is so much that's possible for people's lives.
Say it again.
Mine, there are so many things that are possible for people's lives. You know what I mean? And there are certain relationships that you have and get clear around to make things possible. And financial freedom and peace with money, I really think, is one of those ingredients that has to be present for you to create possibilities, you know? Um, and it may not start with that you're just focusing on money. It might be that you have a vision of where you want to see yourself going in your career or in your community. But how important would you say figuring this part of this people's stories, whether they stories they tell themselves, is in helping them create possibilities? I'm curious about your thoughts on this.
So there's a survey that said 90% of Americans would mention money as a stressor for them. 90% of Americans are stressed about money. I would argue the other 10% are lying because even rich people stress about money.
They do.
Rich people, right? And so I think that I guess I would argue that it is potentially the most significant thing that you have a level of influence over to improve your wellness. Because money itself is just green pieces of paper with dead people's faces on it. But the
I mean, seriously,
access
seriously,
is paper,
it is.
linen paper, I think. Anyway, it's access to resources. It's access to options. It's access to, you know, the ability to have certain things that would otherwise potentially be more challenging to acquire. And it also, for a lot of people, even though it doesn't have to, affects their mental and emotional, spiritual, physical state of being. And so I say, if you want to assess where you're at, check your money mood. Open your bank account on your app or whatever. And how do you feel? Ideally, we would probably prefer to be neutral. If there's money there, okay. If there's not money there, okay. That you, beside money, can be in a state of like calm. That's great. But a lot of us have financial trauma. Okay. A lot of us have dealt with financial insecurity and there's a lot going on economically and politically.
Like
And
you're saying, even
there's so many things.
generational stuff that's
Oh,
come down
there's
the
so many,
pike. Yeah.
so many layers. So yeah, I can sit here and say that you should be neutral when it comes to money, but I know the reality is that it's likely not the case. If there's money that's in your account, For some people, it stimulates them and they're like, oh, there's money. It gives them relief. They're like, ah. Or for some people, it's stressful because they're like, what do I do with this money? I'm not sure. I got to send it somewhere. I got to pay something off or whatever. When there's not money in the account, we're like, oh crap. For some people, not having any money in the account is homeostasis. So they're used to that being the case. So they don't actually know how to, and their nervous system can't hold when there is money. So checking your money mood will help you know where you fall and what direction to move in to have a more secure relationship with money, which oftentimes has to do with having a level of safety within ourselves. Now that turns into the therapy stuff, that turns into the psychological. I have my students read Lies We Tell Ourselves, the psychology of self-deception, so that we can have them pinpoint whatever those lies are, those limiting beliefs, and then rewrite them so that they can become the version of themselves that can hold the abundance and prosperity of the vision that they have. Your nervous system may not be ready right this second for everything that you want, which means you're going to have to work on that so that you can become the container to hold the abundance, which is not just the money, which is things going well without being concerned that the other shoe's about to drop, which is, enjoying the bright side without always thinking about the rain cloud. And so there's a lot intertwined in the process that we help our students unpack, untangle, and rewire in ways that make more sense for them. And it's so cool to see because, again, I thought I was a unicorn. I thought only I was able to get the kind of results that I got until we started replicating the results. And actually, my students get better and faster results than I did because we've refined the process. So while it took me 3 years to pay off $90,000 of debt, I've got students paying off on average about $20,000 to $40,000 within the first 6 to 12 months of being in our community. I say it took me 3.5 years or so
That is
to
incredible.
save $30,000. I have students save $30,000 in 12 months. So it's amazing to see what's possible when you start locking in and refining what the process looks like, obviously based on what their individual goals are. But I mean, there's only 3 things you need to hit a goal, any goal: weight loss, weight gain, like personal development, business growth, whatever. 3 things. The first thing is your strategy. How are you going to get from where you are to where you want to go? We talk about the lies we tell ourselves because we're often lying when we even talk about our vision because we're settling. We're saying, "Oh, I don't want much. I just want things to be like." You're lying. You want more. I 9 times out of 10, I can call a liar. Pathological, me included, okay?
I mean,
And so
I'm feeling convicted right now here, okay? Because the
yeah.
truth is we do. And we think, "Oh, we forgot this far." Like, no, you could you could go further if you really wanted to. I mean, you may not want to, but what is the vision that you really have? Yeah. So strategy number 1.
So that you can reverse engineer the right plan. Because if you make a plan for a place you don't wanna go, you're gonna get there and still be unfulfilled. That
Yeah.
doesn't help. 2 is systems. So people talk about discipline. You don't need as much discipline as you think you do. Discipline isn't the problem, distractions are. But when you have systems in place, the systems act as your safety net to catch you when you fall, and also to ensure that your plan is executed based on your future vision, not based on how you feel in the moment. Third thing, support. The research shows when you have accountability in the form of a meeting for the goal that you have set, you are over 95% more likely to hit the goal. So, if nothing else, get accountability. That is my litmus test at this point. If I'm struggling in an area, I ask, do I have accountability in this area of my life? If the answer is yes, am I leaning on that accountability, being vulnerable and honest about where I'm at and what I need? If I don't have accountability in the area, how can I find it? And if I don't find it, if I don't get it and solve for that, I know I'm self-sabotaging. It's self-sabotage. I know 95, if I want to ensure my success, I get accountability in that area. This is why we joined the greatness coaching program. This is why people hire trainers. This is why people hire therapists. This is why people hire me as a wealth coach. If you don't get accountability, that's because maybe, you're working through some things that are,
We say it with grace. You maybe just not
yeah,
sure.
maybe it's not time. Maybe, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to move at any
Yeah.
pace other than the pace that you want to move at. But if you want to move, all you gotta do is get some accountability because you don't have to have the strategy and the systems to be able to get the accountability to help you figure out what the strategy and the systems are. It's the quickest way.
Man, just I feel like we could go whole part 2 on this because this is so
I
good because, I
know.
mean, honestly, whether it's just the money or whether it's any area of your life, like you said, the strategy, systems, and support, and, I mean, you're bringing up some things for me right now that I'm thinking, "Oh, yeah, I gotta think about that." Because the reality is anytime I've ever had accountability around something, it it's gotten to where the vision has come alive, you know what I mean? It's like a foolproof way to get you to where you wanna go. But no accountability, and then sometimes you will. Those things that you talked about, distractions, and, I think what is it in James Clear that says we don't rise to our habits, we fall to the level of our something, systems,
Systems.
habits, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Systems,
systems.
yeah.
Yeah,
So the question
yeah.
is like,
So, okay.
what are you afraid of? You know? Sometimes we're scared of success.
And that's episode part 2, folks, because it is true. It is true. Sometimes we are afraid of actually achieving the things that we have in our mind to make possible. And yeah. And then the question is, why are you afraid of that? You know? But okay. Well, I know you have a book to send and I know you have a community. So some people have been listening and they're like, sign me up because I need help and I need that accountability you're talking about. And I need somebody to help me create the strategy that's going to work for me and the systems, put them in place so that I can get to where I want to go. So I know you also have a book if people are like, I just want to read too. And you also have a podcast. So maybe you can tell a little bit about to people who are listening where they can find you and some of these awesome resources that you have for people.
Yes, the easiest place to find me is either on YouTube or on Instagram at Jacent Wamala, my first and last name, very easy. And if you come to my Instagram, go ahead and send me a DM. Say, hey, I was listening to Inspiring Possible. I treat my internet homes like my home, so don't come to my house and not speak to me. That's weird. Okay. And I would love to extend the ebook. It's complimentary. Just send me a DM or a message and I'll send it to you directly. If you're listening to this podcast episode, I don't do this all the time, but if you're listening to this podcast episode and you would like a physical copy of the book, then I'll send you a signed one as a gift from me to you. Just send me a DM and I'll make sure to get it to you. And that's as far as like the books and things. If you just want to learn and lurk and all that fun stuff, all the complimentary gifts I would love to share with you to help you make progress. My book is more like a workbook than anything, workbook and storytelling, which is fun. And for those who are like, nah, I need to get the support, I'm ready. I want to put in the work. I'm ready to invest and get a return on it. See myself having these significant results that you're able to help your students get, then please let me know by sending me a message and, letting me know that you want to learn more about the community. And then I can share with you that information. It is open enrollment, so you can enroll at any time. But we do have cohort 4 coming up, which is the live version of the program starting June 7th. And so even my older students, because all my students get lifetime access, have a tendency to come back on because for them, it's like listening to, their favorite songs or watching a movie for the second time. They get something different because they're in different places in their journey. And wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint. So our goal is to walk alongside you in that process to get that strategy, systems, and support in place to not just get you set up to spend the next 6 months like creating the foundation for the rest of your life, but to become unrecognizable in all of the best possible ways and really walk in the potential of what's possible for you. So I would love to chat with whoever thinks that they, want to join and we'll see if it's aligned and go from there. But I just appreciate you, Christy, for showing up in the world, showing me what's possible in so many more ways than I have ever probably said to you yet. That I'm just cheering you on and so grateful to know you and get to watch your journey unfold. It is a true pleasure. And anyone listening, I just speak nothing but, increased health, wealth, and prosperity over your life, that you would leave this conversation feeling like, okay, maybe it is possible for me. Maybe I can find a way. Maybe there's a resource that's going to help me to solve this problem or whatever the case is. Reach out to Christy. Maybe there's something that she can share, whether it's another podcast episode or another recommendation. But I'm so grateful. Time is a precious asset. So for y'all to spend any of it with us means the world.
Yeah, and just sent I feel the same. It has been such there's points along this journey, and I hope I don't get emotional because probably will. where you think about the people you get to meet because you have set the vision and then you have said, okay, I want to take these steps and getting these communities. And one of the gifts for me has been to have met you along the journey and then also to see the amazing work that you do to support others to really get to that vision that they have for themselves. And so I appreciate you coming in and sharing all these insights. I'm walking away with things to think about and to even implement in my life. And if you listen, we do give you a point, but I don't even know what the point is today. Invest in yourself. That's the point. And the reality is the returns will be incredible. But if there is a pain point in your life, and if money happens to be one of them, and you have been struggling with this for a while, and you're like, I have tried Christy, I've tried Jacent, then I encourage you to get either the resources or get the accountability to help you get the freedom, because that is your book, The Financial Freedom Formula, to get you to the vision of life that you have for yourself, your family, and maybe even your community, and seek that support that you need. But guys, it's possible. Just go out there, make it happen. Until next time.
That's all for today on Inspiring Possible. If you found a little inspiration today, please go on over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen to leave us a comment and rate us. Also, make sure and link up with me at inspiringpossible.com to get the free Dream It, Write It, Do It workbook. And don't forget to follow us on social media and share this with anyone who needs to be inspired. Remember, if you can believe it, it's possible.